Okay, so welcome back to day number 3 of the fascial human garage kind of experience, if you like. So first of all, I'm going to go through another fascial maneuver. I'm going to go back to totally twisted for the 3rd time. Then I'm going to talk about a video that I watched which made me dive deeper into the world of fascia. I'm going to show you a few different tools which I ended up not using, even though I purchased them all. I never got into a habit of using them, and then I'll tell you about the latest tool that I've got, which I've started to use quite regularly, again, for the purpose of making your fascia less knotted, don't know if that's the right word, but more in alignment of how it would be maybe when you were born, but we'll get to that. So the first thing, we're going to do totally twisted again, but this time, if you watch the last 3 videos, you'll know right over left, right hand under, left hand over, body to the right, head to the left, and then the 3-stage breath, right? But this time, rather than right foot over, I'm going to go left foot behind, which is kind of the same thing, but we're going to go a little wider. And all this does is it will give you just a different experience. Whether it's useful for you or not remains to be seen. I know for me, I like to try these different things out. And again, this is something that you'll find through the Human Garage 28-day life reset a little way further down. So again, we're sticking with totally twisted. Don't worry, we will start doing some other of the fascial maneuvers. So again, left foot behind, which essentially is right foot in front, right hand over, left hand over, body to the right, head to the left, and then the 3-stage breath. And when you're doing the breath, just notice first of all, where does it go to the same space? But I'll come to that in a sec. So here we go. And then again. And this time, do 3 breaths through the mouth and see if you can direct the breath to a different area. So the first one will be your normal area. Then the second one will be something like maybe lower down in the ribs. And then the third one maybe higher up. And then do that again. And then move your head to the right, and then move your body to the left, and we'll go back to the 3-stage breath again. And again this time, 3 deep breaths in through the mouth. But see if you can guide the breath to a different area of your lungs. So for me, where I find the biggest impact, or where it ends up going naturally, is quite high up. But when I drive it lower, I feel like the lower ribs expand, and I feel like that's more of the freedom that I would like to feel. So for me, I visualise like a pear. You know, when a pear goes out at the bottom, that's how I'm feeling my ribs come out. Then we can slightly bend over if you can keep your balance. And same again. And then a 3-stage breath. ease. That was just 3 breaths there. And you'll notice progressively there's a lowering and a lowering and an expanding and expanding. So even though we're doing totally twisted 3 days on the trot, you can see that there's an experience to continually explore. In fact, there's certain fascial movements that I've been doing where I'm only really now beginning to find, hang on a second, if I move the breath there and I maintain the movement like this, I can start to feel an opening up and a freeing up, especially around my hips. But we'll come to that in another video. So right leg behind now, which essentially is left leg forward, left hand under, right hand on top, body to the left, head to the right, 3-stage breath. And again. And now just some normal breaths in through the mouth, directing it. And then head to the left, body to the right, 3-stage breath. And again, more. And again, more. And 6 breaths, direct it. And again, direct it. And then bend forward at the hips. If you can keep your balance. And again, 3 breaths. That was 4. The 3-stage breath. And there you go. So then you've got 3 days of totally twisted practice. To begin with, just without the hip hinge, then with the hip hinge, and then with the, rather than one leg in front, like a sweep behind. Have a little move around. In fact, you can move around between doing one side and doing the other side. That's usually what they say when you're doing the practice with the 28-day reset, which you should check out at humangarage.net, 28-day life reset. That's where these movements are coming from. So play around with those, do them as many times as you can really through the day, and see if you feel great, because that's the idea, right? If you feel great, you feel great. And when you feel great, that's as good as it gets. And then you don't have to worry about stress and everything else, you just feel great. So, what was I talking about at the start of the video? I was talking about these devices here, these fascial tools, the Fascia Blaster from Ashley Black. So the story goes like this. I was listening to a podcast from Caroline Allen from Beam Minerals, and if you go to longevityessentials.com, and you just, it's easier by the way on a laptop or a desktop, you scroll down, you're going to see the longevity roadmap. Now essentially it's the longevity supplement roadmap, because when it comes to longevity, there's a whole lot of basics that most people ought to get in place, and we'll talk about them in another video. But from a supplement point of view, minerals are first. But it's not just minerals. With Beam Minerals, you get humic and fulvic complexes, The humic and fulvic complexes are different to humic and fulvic acid. But again, that's another story for Caroline Allen to tell you, so watch some of her podcasts. Anyway, so we got to the end of one of her podcasts, and the host said, "Oh, is there anything else that you've been looking into?" She said, "Oh yeah." She said, "There's a lady called Ashley Black, who you see on the back there, who's a really fascinating individual, and she talks a lot about fascia and the body and movement and freedom and flow." So I was like, "Oh, that sounds right up my street." Turns out Ashley Black has got a TED Talk, and if you watch her TED Talk, a lot of the TED Talk is about cellulite. But her thesis is that cellulite isn't cellulite as we know it, it's fascia that has become all kind of knotted and mangled. Like, say for example, somebody's not got really long hair, they haven't brushed it for many days. And so she was doing a lot of work with celebrities and sports professionals and elite athletes and whatnot. And she was getting great results, but she needed some tools that they could use when she wasn't there, when she was traveling or doing whatever she was doing. So she came up with the fascia glass. This was the first one, and she gave it to a lady who was doing her legs like so every day, sides, fronts, backs. Get some oil on there, and then the lady reports back after about 6 weeks. Ashley Black came back, and Ashley Black came back. The lady went to go and see her for an appointment, and she said, "Yeah, I've been using the fascial blaster, and my cellulite disappeared." And so Ashley Black starts joining the dots. Then she starts doing some MRIs on people who haven't used these tools and then have used these tools for extended period of time. And the MRI shows the fascia being in a much more harmonious state. And if you don't know much about fascia, neither do I to a great extent, but what I do know is that it gets discarded. When people are doing, medical training, they're cutting up cadavers, and people say, "What's the white stuff?" "Oh, don't worry about the white stuff, that's just that's just connective tissue." But the fascia is everywhere, which means that essentially that's what we are. You can cut off limbs and you can do this and do that, but you can't take the fascia out. It's everywhere. So she's done some really interesting podcasts on, she says that fascia is quantum, and it reminds me of when you look at, if you study the work of Paul Stamets and you look at the mushroom world and the mycelium world and how things can be happening underground with this mycelium network, and one signal can come from a particular tree, maybe it's lacking something, and then the mycelial network kind of gets involved and then it gets transported there, and it's and then that reminds you of what's going on in the brain and all the different synaptic connections and everything else. So it's quite a fascinating subject. For my purposes, like my own, just me personally, I like these exercises, these fascial movements and these kind of tools, because it allows me to continue to do self-care if I'm not seeing a practitioner and whatnot. And the reason that's important is so I can play better golf. Years ago, I couldn't play multiple rounds of golf without my back going into spasm. Now, then I had a really bad spell around lockdown where, an MRI was showing 2 slipped discs and I was in pain for a long period of time. And after some medical ozone injections, some prolozone injections, and a few other treatments with an Indiva machine, some shockwave therapy, and working with a few other practitioners, I was able to get myself back to playing golf again. And luckily, the ring you see now has got the equipment in from my movement coach. We came to an arrangement. He's got his stuff stored here, and he's I don't think you mind me saying, he's in his 70s now and he's in phenomenal shape. So if you're ever interested in seeing him privately or coming to this space, then let us know. But yeah, in a nutshell, the reason why I'm sharing these human garage fascial movements with you is because the more self-care we can do, the better we can feel, and if the better we can feel, the more we can enjoy and engage in life, which is essentially what used to be called aggressive health, which is now longevity essentials, is all about. So that's the video of the day. The reason I was showing you these is because even though I've got them, I don't use them. Okay, you might be thinking, well, that's not very good, is it, Mike? You spent all that money and you're not using them. But what Ashley Black came out with, she came out with a device which is motorized called the Nexia. And if you remember a couple of videos ago, I had that box sitting here. It's actually at home now, and I said I was going to show you what's in the box. Well, I'll show you some of the using that device, because essentially, right, it prevents you sitting there all night doing this, whereas you can just switch it on and hold it on. It's a little bit noisy if you're watching TV, Anyone who's watching TV with you is going to want to turn the volume up, but essentially you can just sit there and you can work on some areas. And I've got some different areas around outside of my leg here and up in my back and whatnot. So far I've used it around my neck area, felt really good. I've used it on my leg. There's a couple of days I didn't use it over the weekend, but I'll be getting back into that tonight. So that's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll move on from Totally Twisted tomorrow. We'll start doing we'll do a different fascial manoeuvre. But keep doing the Totally Twisted, because as you combine all these together, essentially you're gonna start getting great results. See you tomorrow.